Before we start this episode, I want to extend a powerful invitation to you that, if you accept it, has the ability to change your entire life. This January, in a new year with a fresh start, I invite you to join my Build Her Legacy Mastermind. This is for the woman who needs clarity and is ready to commit to the blueprint that builds a wealthy life and a legacy worth passing on. This is an 8-week restructuring of your life, your money, your identity, and your future. Most women are trying to build the life they want on top of shaky foundations, unclear about what they truly desire, disconnected from themselves, and unsure how to make money work for them in a way that creates true financial independence. My friend, inside this mastermind, that changes. You will examine your beliefs, your patterns, and your internal narratives. We strip everything down to the studs and rebuild you, because sometimes we have to unbecome who we've been in order to become the woman we're meant to be. You will learn what true financial sovereignty looks like and how wealthy families build, protect, and pass down their assets tax efficiently to the next generation. We will unpack the wealth principles and assets no one teaches women, and we will rewire scarcity, fear, shame, and confusion around money. And we're going to integrate health and wellness practices that support the life identity you envision, because you cannot step into your power if your energy is depleted and your belief system is working against you. My friend, we start January 8th. This is your moment to stop living by default and start living by design, to stop wishing for freedom and start creating it, to stop hoping for one day and start building the blueprint today. This is the foundation your future demands. This is the beginning of your wealthy era. If you're ready to accept this invitation, or if you have any questions, DM me the word legacy on Instagram or click the link in today's show notes to reserve your spot inside the Build Her Legacy Mastermind.
This isn't just another podcast. We're crushing the taboos and we're rewriting the rules. It's the space where we normalize women becoming wealthy. If you're done playing small and ready to become the CEO of your life and the architect of your future, then my girl, you're in the right room. Welcome to your wealthy era. Welcome to the Wellthy CEO podcast.
Today on the Wellthy CEO, I'm sitting down with one of the top trademark and branding lawyers in the world, Ashlee Froese. She's one of only 6 women in Ontario recognized as a certified specialist in trademark law, and she's the woman behind some of the strongest, most protected brands in Canada. In this episode, we break down the legal essentials women often overlook and the exact things you need to look for to protect your brand and the empire you're building. Let's dive in. Joining me today on the Wellthy CEO podcast is my girl, Ashlee. I am so happy to have you here in studio. It feels like a lifetime has gone by since we've actually physically seen each other last.
It's true. It's true. And by the way, this is fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to be a part of this. I'm so excited that you're doing this.
Thank you.
I've seen this. You've had dynamic people on. I'm so happy to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And congrats to you. These are important conversations.
They are really important. And I'm so happy that you're here. And you actually brought to my attention that it was National Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Am I getting that right?
Yes, I believe this week.
So how fitting that you're here in studio as a powerhouse female who has a business and around one of these topics that are not necessarily always sexy amongst women, right? I
guess so.
Law, tax, structure, legal stuff.
I think it's sexy.
You do.
Don't get me started on trademarks.
Yes.
It's my jam. But it's sexy or not, it's integral.
Yes. And it's really, really important. And I think a lot of women in business especially don't realize that. Yeah. And this is really why I wanted to have you come on, because you see, especially in the world of Instagram and influencers and building your brand, and it can literally be taken from you without you realizing it because you don't have the legal backing, the structure, the registrations, trademarks, like you just brought that up. You're like, I love the T word. You know?
I do. It's one of the things. It's mo money, mo problems. As your business scales and grows,
right?
There's so many more issues that can come up, and you expose yourself to so much more risk. So working with a lawyer that understands how to structure and how to sort of lay the foundation that in the event that things happen that don't go ideally, because that's
Yep.
life, you're in the best way to position yourself. So it's getting ahead of the issues
Right.
before they present themselves.
So talk to us about when is the right time to get ahead, because there's people who start out right away and are super A-type. Like me, I'll give you myself, for example. I'm the type of person that I'm like, I come up with a new idea and I'm like, domain needs to be registered. I want to register the business. I want to trademark it. I
Yeah.
want to get the Instagram handle and have all of my P's and
Yeah.
Q's laid out. When really you don't necessarily need to be investing all that money in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm like super A-type like that. And I don't always recommend doing that. And you're the expert. So at what point when you're like building your brand, you're
Mhm.
growing a business, would you say, girl, you need a pause and you really need to own
Yeah.
your brand?
So I think that, look, what I love about our economy, how the world is growing, there's sort of a democratization about being an entrepreneur. Like Shopify has made e-commerce so much more sort of accessible. TikTok and Instagram has made being a brand ambassador and building a village and a community so much more
Right.
accessible. So I think that there's a lot more easier opportunities, but there's also a lot of volume of other competitors
Sure.
out there. What I will say is your strategy of dot your I's, cross your T's from the beginning is probably the best way to do it, because if you don't dot your I's, cross your T's, it doesn't mean that the legal issues aren't there and aren't present.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So the head in the sand of, oh, I haven't gotten to this point yet, I don't need to worry about it is not really what the reality is of risk. Because in the end, the law is a tool to use to mitigate risk
Right.
or to ensure that if you're partnering with a third party, they contractually have to do what it is that they said that they were going to do, and you don't have to pay them, or they can create something and you're going to own it. Like, you're just leaving yourself out in the wind
Yeah.
by not taking care of yourself from the get-go. So I would say that realistically, look, if you're going to have a side hustle, people are not like, life is busy. If you're having a side hustle just to have a hobby, go play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that there's not legal risk.
Sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to go for it, structure it from the get-go. And what I try to do through my firm is really educate people on the whys of
Mhm.
law, because it's so like challenging or intimidating, or it's not easy, accessible information.
Sure.
So I try to make it more palatable and more pragmatic. If you're an entrepreneur, hey, there might be 5 things that you want to take care of. And let's start to create a hierarchy so that we'll deal with this thing first, get that dealt with. A couple of months, let's deal with this. A couple of
Yeah.
months, deal with, like, it doesn't have to be as overwhelming. And I think that also that advice will change depending on what are you selling or what are you doing.
Sure.
For example, if you're starting to, I mean, you're a new mom.
Yeah.
You're probably coming up with all of these ideas or gaps in the marketplace of like, oh, I don't know, my baby's like needs organic vegan applesauce that doesn't have
Right.
cinnamon in it
Yeah.
because the teeth,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So in
Something
that
like that.
situation, you're dealing with children's products. They're ingesting. There's a greater sort of liability and risk of contamination as opposed to, creating like a little bracelet or
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So different industries and different product types will have different risks that you want to mitigate. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's fact specific, to be honest with you. But the bottom line, a long-winded way of saying that the legal risks are there, the legal issues are there, regardless of if you want to give it your brain power or not.
Right. So I think my takeaway from what you've just said that I'm hearing is that if you start something, if you have an idea and you start actually putting action behind this idea.
Yeah.
If you're in it for a business, then you should do it sooner than later. Like as soon as possible,
Mhm.
register, get the legal ownership of it, trademark it so that it's yours
Yeah.
and it helps to mitigate problems in the future.
And
And
also,
yeah,
like, it depends on your life stage too. So if you're starting some kind of business venture, right? And you're getting third parties to use your products or services or whatever, if you're not incorporating your business, you personally, so a sole proprietor is just a fancy way of saying it's
yeah,
just you.
right.
So that means that if you have not incorporated, you are personally liable, which means that all of your assets, your personal assets, can also be subject to liability and risk.
Right.
So the whole point of an incorporation is that you're legally separating yourself. You might be the sole owner operator, person in it. It's
Totally.
only you,
Yeah.
but it means that legally now your company and you are different, and so it's the assets of the company, not your personal car or your house or
Right.
your designer shoe collection
Right.
or
Yeah.
whatever, that's going to be subject to liability and risk. So that's an important part too.
Which you would recall, I mean, everyone listening knows like I'm in real estate as a realtor. Up until 2020, the industry did not allow for realtors to incorporate. So I was forced to be only a sole proprietor.
Really?
Yep, until 2020. And in 2020, we were allowed, they're called precs. So it's a form of a corporation. It does have limitations to it,
Right.
but it does allow exactly what you just said for me to be able to be
Mhm.
properly incorporated
Yeah,
with better protection and also better tax structures too,
exactly.
right? Which if you're still in Canada, that's really important. You
That
want to
is
donate
true.
as little as possible to the government,
Yes.
right? So but that was a really big thing for especially agents who are independent or like they're sole agents. You don't have a team. Obviously, as a team, you probably at that point have already incorporated. But,
Right.
I was a sole proprietor, a part of my father's team
Right.
for forever,
Yeah.
and so that was a really big shift in our industry.
Oh,
And
that's
there's
interesting.
so much more protection and, you've got better tax advantage too.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like there's a whole level of sophistication out there. What I always say is use figure out what your strengths are. If you're a business owner, figure out what your strengths are, figure out
Mhm.
what your weaknesses are. Like I started my law firm,
Yep.
I was on Bay Street, I was partner on Bay Street, things were very cushy and,
Yeah. Yeah.
comfortable. And then after 10 years on Bay Street, I was like, "Ugh, I think I can do this myself." So I myself am my own entrepreneur. I own a law firm. It's been around for 8 years. It's growing and growing almost exponentially, which is fantastic. But I realized I was like, listen, like I'm a branding lawyer, it's got a background in international politics. Accounting, not my jam.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did, I hired an accountant and a bookkeeper, So it's the same thing with the law. Like figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're not good at.
Yeah.
As good as you are creatively, if you don't have the business structures,
Yeah.
which is rooted in law and accounting, and know how to use accounting and legal system as a tool, a
Right.
business tool, not the, oh, judge, I object, and, use it for strategy, that's the way to go about.
So let me ask you, what do you see as like the most common branding mistakes or like trademark law mistakes that when you have clients that come to you?
So, okay, so we're talking about trademarks a lot, which is great. I love
Yeah.
that. But I do corporate contracts, trademarks, copyright, domain names, social media, marketing and advertising, packaging and labeling laws, and technology laws. Like I do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And so for some of my clients, I will just the large multinationals, I might be just their trademark lawyers. But for the small to medium size, like lower than 5 million kind of
Yep.
profit, I'm their general counsel
Okay.
type. One thing that I find frustrating is when clients sign agreements or don't enter into agreements that they haven't like fleshed out the business terms and thought ahead of time, how can this business relationship go wrong?
Right.
let's figure that out before getting into the actual agreement, like starting the business relationship. So I find
Meaning they're not thinking about how it could go wrong.
so they're either just signing a
Right,
contract,
right.
which I'm like, oh God, please stop doing that. Or they're just starting the relationship, but they haven't flushed out the business terms and contractually bound people to the performance obligations or restrictions.
Yeah.
So I find that something that is just such an easy thing to do, and it's so important.
Yeah.
That's frustrating. I find on the brand side, because that was your original question.
And let me, okay, can you hold your thought? Hold that
Yes.
next thought. Because
Yes.
just on that, like I have, being in real estate, my whole world is contracts. That's like all we do,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Our agreements are all
Yep.
contracts. And, oftentimes even, just other shoots that come out of your business, like we're just always dealing with that. And I call them divorce clauses, whether that's like legally, it's probably not what you would call it. But I always say, in the beginning of any relationship, it's hunky-dory. It should be. Otherwise, you shouldn't even enter into that relationship. But
Yeah.
it's like, it's good. And so you need to think about like, if I needed to exit for whatever reason,
Yeah.
changed my mind, moving, don't like this person, bad partner,
Yeah.
like they effed me, they're not a good human. It's like,
Or it could be even more nuanced. What if they're just not performing at the standard
yeah,
that
performing,
you want?
yeah,
Or,
yeah. Or you change your mind, like they're
or
like,
what if your capital has changed and so
Mhm.
your business needs are different? Like
yeah,
there's a whole bunch of evolution
sure,
that you want to figure out.
yeah,
How do you get this person to perform?
yeah.
What if they don't?
Well, how do you measure it too?
How do you measure it?
Yeah.
What are the performance milestones, obligations? What
Yeah.
if they don't perform? How do you crack the whip a bit? Because it can't be zero sum. Like you can't be like
Yeah.
switching business partners all the time.
No.
And then if there's stuff that's being created collaboratively, who's going to own it? Who has the rights to it? Like, how do you guys come out of this on top, basically?
100%.
And then if it does go bad, what happens? How do you exit? How do you make sure that they don't disparage you or they don't take all of your IP and confidential information or just run out? If it's an annual term and you're getting, an annual payment, like how do you pro rata pay that? Or there's so many different
Or just
things.
don't legally let you out because there's not any terms based on that.
Or if you're relying on their expertise, how do you contractually make sure that they're not outsourcing that to a third party at a much lower rate, but just bumping up the price?
Right.
So there's so many things. And by the way, a great way to figure out, are you going to have a good business relationship is what does the initial contract look like?
Mm-hmm.
How one-sided is it?
Right.
How willing are they to negotiate? Because if there's nothing to fight about in the beginning,
Right.
but you can see there's a little bit of a obstinance,
Right.
let's say.
Yep.
That's a really good kind of litmus test on what's happening here. Like,
right.
what are they? Because there's nothing to fight about. Imagine when you do have something to fight about.
Totally.
So I've done that with clients that they have an agreement. It is so outlandishly one-sided.
Yeah.
It is so against, not even against, because obviously you're going to be advocating for one side or the other, but it's so outlandishly detrimental to our clients. And I'm like, okay, let's make this reciprocal, this in common, like it's just common business courtesy. If they're refusing to do that, I'm like, you sure about these people?
Yeah.
So that's a good exercise as well.
Yeah. Big time. And I very much, I'm glad you brought that up because that's such a crucial part to everything in business.
Yeah. It's a relationship.
Yeah. And, like when you're sitting down at the beginning, things are happy, they're good, they're optimistic. And so that's the best time to figure out if things were to go sour, how are we handling it? And what does that look like?
And can I say that goes for business partners?
Mm-hmm.
It goes for employees. It goes for independent contractors. It goes for manufacturers, distributors, suppliers, influencers, PR person, like it takes a village to raise a baby. It takes a village to build a business.
Totally.
And every time it's a third party outside of you, you want that contract.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Bring us to the second one that I know I cut you off to circle back. Did I make you forget? Okay.
No, it was trademarks. I did. I plugged it in the brain. Oh my goodness. So So your original question was about trademarks. One of the things that is a shame is when trademarks are a funny kind of legal structure because it's the name of the client's baby, like their
Yeah.
corporate baby. And there's also a creative element to it. And I find that clients get creative block. Like they are so honed in on,
Right.
I could only think of a podcast called whatever. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I can't imagine it being, there's an emotional aspect to trademarks, which is not necessarily trickles through to other areas of law. And so what I find is a shame is when clients don't do their due diligence ahead of time on, is this a viable trademark? Is there a confusingly similar, which is a very esoteric legal
Yeah.
test, sort of like a combination of art and science? Is there something out there that is confusingly similar that pre-exists that's going to cause an issue? So I've had clients that they've been well aware that there's trademarks that are similar in the States because I do due diligence
Yep.
ahead of time.
Yep.
And they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be fine." I'm like, "Listen, guys, like, our hope is that you do really well in Canada,
Yep.
and then you expand internationally, and of course, like, America's the next,
Yeah.
economy that you go into. There's so much,
Yeah.
up
Way
until
more
recently,
opportunity. Yeah.
it's all a bit convoluted right now, but generally,
But
that's been the
regardless,
rule.
you
It
just
will
look at
always
it's
be
a
there.
numbers game. They have more
Totally.
people. Like the
Totally.
opportunity cost in the US, regardless of what your position is on what's happening there, you're
Totally.
gonna make more money there.
1000%.
Like real
So
talk.
I'm talking with this client. I'm like, listen, it might be clear here,
Yep.
but the due diligence scan is not clear in the States.
Yep.
So our hope is that you're going to be expanding. And by the time you get to the commercial momentum, you will have been around for a couple of years. You would have had, a couple of hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales. Like you're
Yeah.
starting.
Right.
And that's when your competitor is going to know who you are. That's when you're going to have to rebrand. And then you're going to have to
Right.
start it over again.
Mm-hmm.
That frustrates me because
Mm.
it is a spend and it's not an insurmountable spend, but capital is capital. I get that in the beginning. But it's just if you're really going for it, let's make sure that it's viable in the key economies so that you're not dealing with, it's like you're saying, prepare ahead of time
Yeah.
strategically so that you're avoiding issues. So the client obviously started to go to the trade shows in the States because, that's
Yeah.
where you start to get the distributors. And then they came up on the radar of the competitor, and then they had to deal with demand letters and oppositions, and it got blah, 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 more expensive. Then they had to do negotiated rebrand.
What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions that entrepreneurs lack to understand about trademarks?
I'm going to broaden it again to lawyers, using a lawyer as a startup. I think that there are some people, not all, because some are going to be more sophisticated and exposure, that think that you only use a lawyer when it's judge, I object, I'm
Right.
going to court and, I got this injunction and it's all very suits and, all of that
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's not the case. Like I keep on saying, the law is a system of business tools that you can use strategically. And so that's what I do more on the solicitor side is I help with the structuring of the deals, of the business, of the brand so that you are structuring yourself for growth and mitigating issues before they come up so that if the issues do come up, you're already kind of well
Right.
prepared. You're not on your hind heels. You've already got what you need in place to enforce yourself from a better position. And also, I always think about my clients as in 5 years, 10 years,
Yeah,
let's
sure.
get the investments and let's get you to exit out because,
Yeah.
you're starting this business for good times, but money.
Yeah.
It's also the better way to attract investors, to attract partners, to eventually attract sale if you're structured properly.
Right. Do you ever have clients that come to you saying, I thought that registering my business was enough?
Yeah. But look, if you go to the firm's website, I have so many blogs and so many memos. Like when I started the firm, I have two kind of slogans to the firm is
Yep.
Bay Street caliber without the Bay Street bull. because I was on Bay Street
I
for
love that.
10 years and I wanted to take the sophistication of practice and knowledge, but without the ivory tower kind of construct of
Right.
traditional law and, the massive overhead, to be honest
Mhm.
with you, that trickles down to the clients. And then the other moniker I have is we want to be an ally for your success. So I think that it's important to educate clients constantly. So I have every 6 months, I have a sort of litmus test check in with the clients. How you doing? What's happening? How have you evolved your business? Okay, like let's book a call. So did you know that we should think about this, think about this, think about this? So with the way I work with my clients, because I really I want to champion them. Like
No,
it's
I love
such a
that.
delight
Yeah.
to work with them that I really try, and every week or every other week we issue out newsletters that provide updates on the law
Mhm.
or hey, what's an NDA? Why is it different from an IDA? Like
Right.
all of these little things. Like I really think that it's
Do you wanna break that down really quick for even people who are like, "She's talking ABCs, what did I just
yes,
miss?"
sorry, my bad. So an independent contractor agreement is an IDA and a non-disclosure agreement is an NDA.
Yeah.
And they're sort of they're a handshake kind of contract that goes out, but people get them confused. So I try to
Confused between the difference between those 2 contracts or how
yes,
it's
or when you would
enforced?
use them
Right.
or that kind of stuff. Like, oh, I thought I was just protecting the confidential information. That's enough. Well, no, like you're paying them money, so you want to make sure that they perform and they
Right.
like all of those things we talked about. So I don't know. For me, when I launched my firm, it was really important for me to empower people with knowledge, to make access to the law accessible, to make access to understanding the law consumable.
Mhm.
I think it's really important.
Yeah. Right. Big
So,
time.
yeah,
I do too.
yeah.
If something in this episode is hitting home, can I please ask you to take 30 seconds and subscribe to the show and leave a review? Share this episode on your Instagram and tag me. I would love to see who's tuning in, and your share might be the nudge another woman needs to start her own wealth journey.
This might end up being around the same kind of answer. I don't wanna say all things come back to, like, get yourself a lawyer. In some ways,
But
it
it does,
is.
though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in some ways, it is that, when you're talking about business in general, like, you're building something, you're running something, you really should have a lawyer. And not just like, and I love that you listed off all these different things that you do, because there's all kinds of different lawyers that you're not just gonna have one lawyer. Like, you should have like a team of lawyers, unless you have a firm like yourself that can handle different areas,
Yeah.
but like there's real estate law, like there's all kind,
Yeah.
you should copywriting, like
Yeah.
trademarking, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. So um
It's very similar to, you wouldn't go to have a baby. You had a baby with your OB-GYN. You didn't go to like the
Well,
brain surgeon for the, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
the same thing in law,
Yeah.
but, I would say I'm sort of a business branding lawyer that can help with multiple facets, sort of like a GP, I guess, in a
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
But then for the larger companies, there is specialization.
So I would love, and this is what I was saying, like, I know that it'll probably end up being like, get a lawyer, come talk to Ashlee, but because we are everything is online, digital, that's where it's going. AI is new on the scene. Like that, I'm sure has all kinds of legal concerns around it as well. Like as
Wow.
a brand
Well,
influencer.
we issued out a newsletter
'Kay, yeah.
last week about it. Or
Tell
this
us.
week. Is it going out? It's out. It is
'Kay.
out. So actually, let's talk about ChatGPT.
Yeah,
Let's do that. So I've people have this idea that you can just use a precedent and that's it. Understand that every business relationship has different nuances to it. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that it's kind of customized to reflect the ins and outs of that business relationship and those parties and how they can mess up and how things can go wrong. So that's
Sure.
the whole customization part of it, because you really want to make sure every relationship is fact specific.
Mm-hmm.
So really the contract should be fact specific too. So I've had clients come to me with like, oh, I've got a template, just use it. It's invariably US law, which is not applicable to me. It's a mishmash of stuff because I try to not talk in the ipso facto heretofore, notwithstanding. That's not
Sure.
my
Yeah.
everyday vernacular,
Yeah.
but a lot of lawyers do. It's not really, it's hard to understand. It's a bit incomprehensible. So I've had clients come to me that just architect garbage together that sounds legal,
Yeah.
but it's
Not.
oftentimes American. The problem with ChatGPT, I've had some clients come to me. So those, I just can't even work with them. It's just it's going to cost me more to revise that
Untangle.
than it is to
Yeah.
actually just start from the beginning. And then ChatGPT, I've had clients come to me, they're like, it's same but different because ChatGPT takes what's on the internet and consolidates it
Right.
basically. So it's same but different, just a different platform, but same kind of content.
Yeah.
And I've had clients come to me for that. And I'm like, again, this is like gobbledygook. It doesn't make sense. It's piecemeal fabricated stuff. But what's interesting is that ChatGPT came out, I think it was ChatGPT came out last week or this month with policies that they no longer encourage, or they have banned users from getting professional information from ChatGPT.
Sorry, rewind. See that one more time?
ChatGPT,
Yeah.
I believe
Mhm.
it's that platform,
Yeah.
has put out a policy saying discouraging. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness gracious. That's embarrassing. From using AI as a tool to get actual legal information.
Okay.
So using it as a tool, as a replacement. So they've said for medical and for legal purposes, and I think accounting or tax as well, they do not encourage you to use Chat GPT from policy standpoint to get that information as a substitute from a professional.
But that's just covering their own asses.
But I mean, it makes sense because what I've
Yeah.
seen is
But
not.
I mean, here's what I have done. I'll say even myself, never mind like what I've shared with other people, is
Yeah.
like it's a starting point. Like it's a like, especially if I'm going, like we could use you as a real-time example.
Yeah.
You offer a 15-minute complimentary consultation
Yes, I do.
call.
Yes.
So if I wanted to take that meeting with you and I only have 15 minutes
Yes.
without needing to talk uber fast and like tell Ashlee everything I want, I would be saying to chat, I'd be like, this is the idea. This is the business. This is what I'm wanting to get out of this 15-minute consult.
Sure.
What are the legal questions that I won't be thinking about because I'm not a
what
lawyer?
I'm saying is not the, hey, and then I need you to do a manufacturing
Right.
agreement and churn that up.
Yeah.
It's getting context and background information
Right.
and educating yourself on why am I asking this?
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
But bypassing the lawyer to do the actual legal work, that's where I think it's going to be risky for the client.
What if somebody prepared that document through chat and then brought it to you as a lawyer to say, this is what I put together?
I've had that happen and
Yeah.
it's gobbledygook. It's normally
So still don't
like,
do it.
yeah, it's going to take me more time
to read it and go through.
And I'm gonna make the thing bleed with just like revision. And to be honest with you, most of the time the clauses they don't make sense. They're missing key clauses, or it's like American law.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
no bueno.
Right.
I would say use it to help you understand why you would need it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. So if you were if somebody's needing to do, I'm gonna say like an audit almost like on their brand online.
Yes.
Where there might be gaps that they're not seeing in their business. They have blind spots.
Yes.
What would you say like these are the top 3 things?
Oh gosh, I'm like actually just working on a case right now. So it's a guy that's come to me and he's wanted me to do the research, the due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. And then he has 2 locations. And so he wants to trademark those locations. So I did an audit of that. But then it's like one is run by one company, one's run by another company. So, but they're similar but different trademarks for the different things that they have. So it's just it's okay. Now you've got 2 different entities that have very identical trademarks, but that's going to get flagged by the trademarks office as confusingly similar because they don't recognize related entities. So now should we have an IP holdco that owns the assets, then licenses it to the companies? And so it's everything is very fact specific on what are you trying to accomplish. I have another client that it's such a great story. Like they're a new client of mine, and they've done so well that they're now selling in Europe and the States, and they've been picked up in a huge magazine. So now it's like, okay, let's make sure that the brand protection is good in Europe and the UK and here and there. And,
Right.
you know, it's as customizable as a business is in growing and growth and the issues that they get into.
Yeah. But you would probably say like registration and trademark, those first two things. Because there's so many, like, what I'm trying to like ask is that there's so many people you see on Instagram and they have these brands.
Yes.
And not all of them, obviously, but like I know there's certain people where I'm like, I know like you're not, or they'll even say like TM trademarked,
Right.
like, and I'm like, I know that that's not true. And they're just like on Instagram and they have this brand, but there's nothing behind it. Like anybody
Right.
could come and argue and try to take it.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem as well, is that I've had clients that they start to do well and they start to go viral. They might be startup companies, but once you go viral on one of these platforms, it also means more money, more problems. It means that the nefarious characters, they can then start to rip off your designs and hijack your brand so that you're not you're on your hind trying to get it back now. So this client, they started to go quite viral. They had celebrities that were wearing their clothes, which was a huge PR coup. Great. They get global recognition in all of the magazines, all of the blogs, all of this stuff. But then there's a whole economy of trolls that will register their trademarks in China or internationally or domain names. And they are then having to negotiate getting it back. IP laws are country by country.
Right.
So each country sets their own laws, and behind those laws are different policy considerations. So they might know, the brand trolls, hypothetical, they might know that to fully enforce your rights in this country, it's going to take $30,000, let's just say.
Yeah.
So we'll sell you this for $20,000. It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, there's a whole economy out there that they're watching and they're monitoring for who's going to be successful. And successful doesn't have to be Chanel.
No. Yeah.
It can be just, you're worn by J-Lo one day or something like that,
This is so important. And I said it earlier, I think all things lead back to getting yourself a good lawyer. And so like, I really thank you for.
Can I say one thing about the lawyer thing?
Yeah.
That for entrepreneurs, this is their first time having the business.
Yep.
For me, I've seen thousands go through this. So I see the issues and the trends and all of this stuff.
Totally.
And I can bring that kind of insight and warnings of this may happen to you. Let's get ahead of this.
Totally. And avoid it altogether, that's the goal is like, this is learning from other people's mistakes. Like you don't need to go through them.
Totally.
So Ashlee, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy that you came on. Before you go, tell everybody how can they best get connected with you and take you up on that 15-minute consult.
Yes, 100%. So that's another thing I do. I do free 15-minute consults. I love to help guide people. So
I've been on one of those with Ashlee, guys. I'll just say that.
There you go. So go to our firm's website, froeselaw.com. It's FROESE law.com.
Amazing. And we're going to put everything in the show links as well. So make sure to give Ashlee a follow on Instagram and connect with her, because if you don't own your business, somebody else will.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. If something in today's episode resonated with you or sparked a shift, tag me on IG or send me a DM. I genuinely love hearing what lands for you. And if it spoke to you, share it or leave a quick review. It helps more women find this show and step into their own wealthy era. Until next time, lead with purpose, live with intention, and stay wealthy.